Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Tuesday, October the 1st. It is the first primetime show that we have done since the Monday Night Football situation last night. The first primetime show that we've done since the Tennessee Titans have won, miraculously, it would seem, a professional football game, a regular season game in which they scored 30 points. Who'd have thunk? Who'd have thought? Certainly not me, but back from Miami and ready to dive into the quarterback situation. That is the headline, of course, today. The win is important. The point total, less so, even though it isn't a win. So the point total matters because it led to a win. But the crux of the issue continues to be the quarterback. And we will dive in to what Will Levis, or rather Brian Callahan, had to say about Will Levis and Mason Rudolph here in just a few minutes from now. We'll talk about the biggest surprise for you from last night's game, and then we'll wrap things up with a gone viral video. A reminder that this is the only primetime show this week. Bert is getting a vacation because I am taking vacation, so there will be no more primetime until next Monday because the bye week means that I'm going to the beach. Just left the beach, but I'm going back to the beach as soon as we wrap up Greg Cosell tomorrow. No radio show for me either for the rest of the week. So this is going to be your last opportunity with me to react to what went down in Miami until next time when we are getting you ready for the Titans versus the Colts. That's the happiest I've seen Bert all day when I told him he didn't have to work the rest of the week. I forgot to tell him earlier today, but might as well tell him right now. Before we get into the topic of discussion, we need you guys to share this broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, wherever you are spending your precious and valuable time with us. We do so appreciate when you do that. We also appreciate when you share this show. If you're hanging out on Twitter, you can do what I just did. You can retweet the show on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to do the same, and we would be appreciative of you. Did that game make you want to throw up, Buck? Says Captain Trips. Yes, it was disgusting. It was terrible football. It was conservative as hell. It was 3 yards, less than 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But it doesn't matter what I thought of it aesthetically because the aesthetics don't matter as long as you win. This is the point of NFL football. Somebody tweeted me yesterday, and I thought it was funny, saying, criticizing Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph was, 9 of 17 for 85 yards. It certainly wasn't any kind of downfield aesthetic performance or high-powered performance as far as the passing game goes. And I tweeted, that's what Mason Rudolph is. He's going to chip away. He's not going to turn over the ball. He's going to get you in position to kick field goals more often than not. And more often than not, that's a pretty successful formula. Again, as long as you don't turn the ball over, it turns out good things happen. And with Mason Rudolph, I thought it was funny that there was some criticisms of that because somebody tweeted me and said, I thought football is supposed to be fun. And I said, who told you that? Who told you football is supposed to be fun? Certainly, if you're watching any of these NFL teams right now, there's not that many of them that are having actual fun. The Ravens just recently, because Derrick Henry has been going crazy. The Chiefs, I guess, because they're 4-0, but there's plenty of questions about how, feasible that and sustainable that is for Kansas City. Minnesota is having a great time right now. There's a couple of fan bases who are playing legitimately high-level football, but for the rest of them, they're just trying to wade their way through the muck, and that's where the Titans are cracking into, right? They finally got a win, and it was ugly. It was unpleasant. It was tough to watch, and many of you probably switched over to that Seahawks Lions game at some point because that was a significantly more aesthetically pleasing and fun game. But either way, it doesn't matter how fun it is or how good the football looks as long as you win the football game. And yesterday, they did enough to win a football game. Lucas Berg says, Buck, it's Tuesday. Yeah, but like I said, I'm on vacation the rest of the week, so I told Sam I'm going to do the post-game reaction because I didn't do primetime last night, and then I'm going to the beach. And to hell with it all. I'll tap back in on next Monday when we're getting you ready for Titans and the Colts. So with everything that's going on, of course, the crux of the issue is Will Levis. The crux of the issue is that he got hurt and that Mason Rudolph came in and guided them to a win. Didn't turn the ball over, managed a lot of these situations really, really well, and was exactly what he's supposed to be, a backup quarterback that comes in and gets the job done if the starter gets hurt and can go 2-2 for you in a big spot. Or in the case of Mason Rudolph, he has a winning record as a starting quarterback, as a matter of fact. He is functional, even if it's not explosive, to be specific. But I do think that there is a lot of this stuff that you can take away of with positives. Now, with the quarterback, you're probably not feeling terribly positive, but Brian Callahan set the record straight last night. He did so again with us a couple of hours ago today at St. Thomas Sports Park, specific to Will Levis and the nature of this Titans starting quarterback job. So we'll dive into that together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section, we would appreciate your participation. If you wanted to get involved, Amnesia on YouTube says here, Buck, I don't normally do this, but I feel in my heart I need to ask, can you say a prayer for my friend Boone McCrary, who willingly gave his life in an attempt to save others in East Tennessee during the flooding? Well, first and foremost, let me say I'm so sorry for anybody who experienced loss of life, loss of friends, loss of loved ones, loss of family members. The toll of the hurricane has been catastrophic, particularly in East Tennessee and in the Carolinas. I mean, the opposite shore of the state of Florida. I was in Miami; it's untouched, but the Gulf, where Tampa and Tallahassee and the rest of it, the Panhandle, just massive amounts of damage and loss of life. So again, so sorry for your loss. There is a link that I will text to Bert here in just a second that is raising funds for people in East Tennessee, and I will have in fact, Bert, I may ask you to look that up for me if you would, because I'm going to try and keep this thing on the rails as much as humanly possible. But the Titans posted the link. It's on their Twitter account. It should be relatively easy to find. A great resource for you guys if you feel financially able to donate and support those in East Tennessee specifically that are experiencing tragic loss. So, and Brian Callahan brought that up last night before he addressed anything in the game, as a matter of fact. And I know it kind of got washed up in the rest of it. That's a really poor turn of phrase by me, washed up. But you understand what I'm trying to say. What Brian Callahan felt the need to address first before his first career win as an NFL head coach was the loss that many people are experiencing across the country due to the hurricane, and apparently there is another one coming. So definitely we will be keeping everybody in our thoughts that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this show if we can. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine folks at Zen Sports. Whether you're betting Monday Night Football, whether you're betting Titans, whether you're betting Vols back in action this week against Arkansas. No matter what your favorite sports are, you can bet on them with the promo code ATOZTN in the Zen Sports app. You can also go to TrueMap Fitness to get the best workout in Middle Tennessee, TrueMapFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout recycled or repeated. TrueMap Fitness is where you go. And of course, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. So we're talking quarterbacks tonight. And the question that we're going to start off with is the quarterback. Will Levis gets hurt halfway through the first quarter. Mason Rudolph comes in and wins the football game. Well, the rushing attack and the field goal kicker and the defense also play a larger role in winning that football game. But the headline, of course, is the quarterback, because the quarterback is the most important position in sports. I'm probably going to have to repeat this a couple times. Mike Sanders says Tuesday and Buck is here. What, this is crazy? Yes. Normally it would be tough for me to work on my day off, but Tuesday is not my day off when it's post-game reaction. So I told Sam that I would do this, like I said, because I'm on vacation during the bye, and this is the only primetime show of the week. So with that being said, the quarterback situation, Mason Rudolph comes in. He's not overwhelming. He's not spectacular, right? We talked about the lack of fireworks necessarily with the Titans offense, but what he does is exactly what he's supposed to do. He comes in and win a game. So it starts this conversation, a lot of it online, a lot of it among Titans fans. I was sitting in the airport in Miami this morning, well, technically Fort Lauderdale, sitting in the Fort Lauderdale airport this morning, listening to so many Titans fans who are on my flight home say the name Rudolph. I heard the last name Rudolph 27 times just sitting in a span of about 15 minutes at gate B2 of the Fort Lauderdale airport waiting for my flight to come home and talk about this game after covering it last night. So the question that I'm going to pose to you is this. I'd be curious to know what your reaction is. Fair or foul, Brian Callahan's decision to stick with Will Levis as the starting quarterback when he is healthy. We'll discuss at length together. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford, where you go for quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service, and all that they have to offer. Over 4 decades of experience with top-notch, award-winning customer service, like I've mentioned, and making sure that you get the best vehicle for your family's budget and your needs. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more info. Fair or foul, Brian Callahan's decision to stick with the quarterback. Will Levis, through these now 4 games, he technically gets credit for a win last night, even though that win should absolutely be Mason Rudolph's, given the way that situation went down. It's why quarterback wins are a terrible, terrible stat to reference, because you don't know the circumstance that led to them winning the game. He is technically now 4-9 as a starting quarterback. He is completing 68.4% of his passes, 604 yards, 6.2 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns against a tie for a league lead with Anthony Richardson, 6 interceptions, 9 total turnovers. It's the most of any quarterback through 4 games. And he was only 3 of 4 for 25 yards last night, and the terrible, terrible interception that he threw on a predetermined throw in the direction of DeAndre Hopkins that was picked off by Emmanuel Ogbah, a 6'4", 270-plus pound defensive lineman. And the reaction from Levis as he came to the sideline, as most of you saw on the TV copy, was, "I never even saw him," which is pretty jarring to hear your quarterback say. It's a different version of "I'm seeing ghosts" from Sam Darnold a couple of years ago. So the question becomes, all right, he's still making critical mistakes. He's not a young quarterback. He's a second-year quarterback. He's at the NFL level, an inexperienced quarterback. So I will grant you that he's not played what would amount to a full NFL season yet. Again, he has made only 13 starts now. Yes, that is the equivalent of 4 and 9. I had to do some math in my head. That's not a good thing because I'm not very good at math, but I believe that is correct. 4 and 9 equals 13. So 13 starts for Will Levis. He gets credit for that win last night. Again, he shouldn't, but you understand why that is indeed the case. Elo says, "We finally got 30 points, Buck. Oh, my God. Please bench Levis." Derek says, "Get Levis LASIK." Lone Star Titan says he needs to develop from the bench. Yeah, but that's not what they're going to do, right? That's not what they're going to do. So the question becomes, fair or foul? Is it fair for Brian Callahan to 100% back Will Levis the way that he has been doing? This was Brian Callahan in the press conference earlier today talking about Levis.
Yeah, that's exactly how we look at it. And I appreciate Mason's professionalism. I appreciate how prepared he was and ready to go into the game. But Will is our starting quarterback, and I said it last night, and I'll reiterate it again, that when he's healthy, he's starting. And hopefully he's healthy for Indy, and we're ready to roll, and he's the starting quarterback, because it's hard to play quarterback in the NFL, as everybody knows. There does take some development. Guys make young player mistakes. You see it all across the league right now, and we're going to find out everything about Will that we can. And he's going to continue to grow and get better and play better. He needs to play better for us. And at the end of the day, I believe that he will. And that's where I'm at with that whole thing. There's no controversy. There's no second guessing. That's what's happening. So that's probably as clear as I can state it.
As clear as he can state it, he did it twice. He did it last night. He did it again today with the media. The question becomes, fair or foul? Do you think that is the correct decision from the Titans coach? Do you think that you would be more successful this season with Mason Rudolph than Will Levis, which is honestly a different kind of question? We'll dive into that together right after I remind you that Zen Sports is your place to bet this football season. Promo code ATOZTN in The Zen Sports app will get you up to $100 on your no-danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Go to zensports.com for more information. And it must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. Okay, so I thought about this for a while because as that game, after the second drive, I said, all right, and I believe I'll put this out on Twitter from the Dolphins game. Let Rudolph ride it out. Like unless Levis is not like legit. I mean, I don't want to say not legitimately hurt, but there's no reason to put Levis back in the game, especially after the pick. It's not a benching because he was legitimately hurt. He dove for it on the third down that was marked erroneously short. Should have been a challenge by Brian Callahan, which I also asked him about earlier today, whether or not he considered making that challenge or challenging that spot. A really difficult call to get overturned, but that was pretty clear and obvious to everybody involved, except for the officials who made the call on the field. And I thought about this and I said, okay, so last night, yeah, you know what, Rudolph, there's no benefit from putting a hurt Levis in. He's not very effective or efficient. He's been varying degrees of effective, but he's not very efficient already. So an injured Levis is not going to make me feel good about how this situation is going to develop. Leave him on the bench, let him ride it out, put Mason Rudolph in, run the football. And, it's 9 of 17 for 85 yards. Mason Rudolph is 9 of 17, 85 yards is not Mason Rudolph winning that game, says Steve Burleson. Yes, but it's also not him losing it. That is the thing that you have to think about. Did the quarterback win the game for you? No, not necessarily. Did he put you in position 7 different times to score points? Yes, he did. Did he turn the ball over? Did he literally give away the game? Did he get the ball out quicker than the starting quarterback did, which led to less sacks? Rudolph was sacked once behind an offensive line that you, me, and the Titans coaching staff know isn't very good in pass protection. So what did they do? Rudolph was getting the ball out. He's making quick, decisive reads and throws out there on the field, which is not something that I've seen Will Levis do. He's a beat late on a lot of that stuff. Ashley Gilbert says, what did Callahan say about not throwing that flag? He was relying on his eyes in the booth, and Rob Ryder, I want to say is how I pronounce Rob's last name, who is this year's version of John Stryker, a.k.a. Stretch, who many of you remember from the Mike Vrabel tenure. Their decision was to not challenge it in that situation. Callahan gave a much longer explanation as to why, and I would invite you to go check it out on my Twitter timeline. I posted it earlier today. It made a lot more sense to hear him explain his logic, even if you disagree with his logic, because I also asked him whether the quarterback change affected his decision to not go for it on 4th and 1 in that spot. So all that to say, 9 of 17 for 85 yards. You're right. It's not winning you the game, but it didn't lose you the game. And that's the crux of the issue. That quarterback has had issues helping them close out games, if not actively giving away the game. But does that matter? Because this is a season where you have to figure out whether that quarterback can be viable at all beyond 2024. So the question becomes fair or foul. The question has been fair or foul. Was Brian Callahan right to ride it out with Will Levis as long as he's healthy? He's the starter. The answer is fair. I've said this to you before. You don't win a Super Bowl this year. You're probably not going to the playoffs. I hate to tell you that in week 4. I don't mean to, urinate on your feel good and your victory Tuesday and all these different things, but you started 0-3. You banged yourself out of the gate. You're not winning the division. The Houston Texans look significantly better, understandably so. The Colts are ahead of you in the standings, and they are not going to be an easy out, especially if they start Joe Flacco against you, as opposed to Anthony Richardson. This is not a playoff season. Maybe it could have been a playoff season had they not gone nuclear in the first 3, but this is not a Super Bowl season. This is an exploratory season. Ching Bing says the Colts aren't going either, Buck. I know that. Their quarterback is a different situation. Their quarterback is a top 5 pick. He's a top 4 pick. Anthony Richardson was the number 4 pick in the draft. This guy's a second round, flyer. He's not Malik Willis, although Malik, looked pretty good against you, right? Malik Willis was a third-round flyer. Whether it worked out or not worked out, it was never anything that you should have attached your hope to as, oh, this is definitely the future of the franchise. I feel the exact same way about him. He's a second-round flyer. So it's a much different circumstance because we all knew that Richardson was going to be bad. He's not played football, meaningful football, whether it's been at high school, at the college level, or the professional level. He just has to play no matter how bad it looks. The Titans, Cam Wolf of the NFL Network is on the radio show today. And I would invite you to go check out the interview on YouTube. You can rewatch the show from today if you want to. I would tell you that it's worth rewatching instead of the podcast, but you can also go to view the podcast if you would prefer to listen to the audio version, because Cam Wolf, Lucas asked him a really good question. Which of those two teams, Colts or Titans, are more likely to pull their second-year starter for the veteran backup? And Cam, without hesitation, said, yeah, it's the Titans, because they all know going into the season that Richardson is going to be rough and it's going to take a couple of years to iron out the kinks, and there is going to be infinitely more patience with him than there will be with Levis, which is the thing that you have to think about. So it's about the long term and figuring him out, whether he is a part of your long-term solution or not. Not Nasir, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that or misreading that, says, Buck, we haven't even played a division game yet. Relax. It's a long season. We have a little life. Sure. Yes, you absolutely have a little life. Congratulations to you for winning your first football game of the season. You're still probably, you are at best the third best team in this division if Joe Flacco is starting games for the Indianapolis Colts. If Richardson starts, there's a different discussion to be had. But coming up next, it's probably going to be Joe Flacco in week 6. And I don't think that you can beat Joe Flacco right now if you're starting Will Levis, which is kind of the thing that you're talking about. But that's because I don't trust him. I don't trust him as a professional quarterback, as a person, as a human being. I'm sure he's more than trustworthy. I'm sure he's more. I've enjoyed my interactions with him. I've said it before. This is not a personal criticism. It's a professional criticism. As a football player, I do not trust him and his decision-making on the field. I want to make sure that I reiterate that, because sometimes it can be hard to separate the personal criticism and the professional criticism. But with all of this, I don't trust Levis. He has not given you a single reason to trust him. In fact, he is increasingly chipped away at your level of trust in him if you are actually discerning about this and not just blindly homerific or loyal to a team just because they're going to ride it out with this particular quarterback. But the answer is still fair, because this is not a Super Bowl season. This is not a playoff caliber team as it stands right now. This season is about figuring out the most important position in sports. That's your quarterback. And that right now is Will Levis. Will it have to be beyond 2024? Right now, it seems like it's trending in the wrong direction. Does that mean that Will Levis can't play in the NFL? No, I think Will Levis could be a quality backup for a long, long time if he wanted to, in the vein of Mason Rudolph, a more souped up Mason Rudolph, right? Levis has traits, Levis has talent, but talent doesn't mean shit if you're not skilled. And right now, he is not showing sufficient skill to play the quarterback position, but you have to give him additional opportunities to do so, because it was always going to be a bit of a roller coaster, even if it's not the same level of variance that Richardson is. Damn Isaac on Facebook Live says, Flacco against our defense. I'll take my Titans defense. Titans defense, pretty solid. But if you had said Flacco against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, you would have taken the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and the Colts just bullied the Pittsburgh Steelers defense to hand them their first L of the year. So I understand you should feel good about your defense. You should feel good about your defensive line, especially if Jeff Simmons told us that he has some kind of Tommy John situation in his elbow today, which is concerning. He's saying definitively he'll be ready for the Colts, and I mean, good on him, because that's a crazy injury. I would think, for a defensive lineman who relies on power from specifically, his hinge, where he's hinged at, right, to get the most amount of strength and push and pass rush ability, whether he's, swim moving or using a club move or whatever he's going to try to do, the hump pass rush move, whatever he's doing, would require a significant amount of elbow mobility. And I don't necessarily know how that's going to work, but whatever. Jeff is not playing right now, and they're still the number one total defense in the sport. Their level of success, I'll have to go look at the advanced metrics, the EPA per play, things like that, quarterback EPA per drop pack against them. I know I don't want to bury you in efficiency numbers tonight, but that is worth diving into, because it will give you a more well-rounded picture rather than just total yardage, because, like, I mean, okay, so you're the top defense against Caleb Williams, who's not a good player right now, Aaron Rodgers, who is not playing good football other than the Monday Night Football against the Patriots the other day, and Malik Willis killed them. And then you beat up on Snoop Huntley, who is a third-string quarterback at best and last played in this league 2 years ago. So, like, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on the level of skill right now, on the level of praise for the Titans defense, even though they had a great performance last night, to their credit, and in particular, Sweat, a monster, an absolute monster. But I think you have to be realistic about these things, right? Flacco's a veteran quarterback. He's a completely different kind of player than anybody but Aaron Rodgers that you've faced. Now, he's not Aaron Rodgers, of course, but still, if he's got a competent offensive line, and it looks like Indy, their run game and their offensive line absolutely bullied the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, the Steelers are an excellent defensive front. I'm not saying that the Titans can't bother Joe Flacco or can't make it a game, but I do think that if it comes down to which quarterback would I rather have, Will Levis or Joe Flacco, I'm probably going Flacco. And I think most of you in an honest moment probably would too. That's what it comes down to for me in this game. Anyway, we're not going to here to preview the Titans and the Colts. We're just talking about fair or foul. Long story short, you ride it out with Will Levis. That's what this season is. I know you want more. I know you aspire for more. I know you had a great honeymoon phase in the offseason where you had all your feel good, and it got somebody took a sledgehammer to it in the first month of the year, because in the first month of the regular season, because you started 0-3 and you thought, what the hell is this? They're scoring less than they ever have. Last night, they get right with a 30-point performance, the first 30-point performance in 1,002 days, which we celebrated today on the radio show. But still, there are a lot of different things to look at this particular point in time. Kicks Good says quarterback class isn't looking good until 2026. That's the other thing. Like, if anybody is in here, I would be curious. Are any of you interested in tanking? Because I would like for you to identify yourselves. Let me know in the comment section, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I'll give you a little time to let me know if you're interested in tanking this season before I tell you how I feel about that. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. Well, I'll remind you here in just a second, right after I remind you that True Math Fitness in the Gulch is your place to go for the best workout in Middle Tennessee. No workout ever recycled or repeated. True Math Fitness is not there to tank your workout. In fact, they're there to elevate your success, help you maximize your fitness goals, whether it's personal training, group fitness classes, or just a membership to work out as you please in their open gym, a top-notch facility, the best facility in Middle Tennessee. TrueMathFitness.com for more information. So just out of curiosity, if any of you are interested in tanking, Craig Baxter says, really hit us upside the head. I mean, listen, just because you won a game doesn't mean that you can ignore the realities of this year. And I think that's important to keep in mind. I did all the hype today on the radio show. Now I haven't had a nap yet, and I'm a bit delirious. So, the rest of it is starting to wear off on me, because it was a 30-point performance, but it felt like 15. And you did it with the backup quarterback not having to do very much in a game against a really, really bad Dolphins team. The Dolphins are playing right now like one of the worst teams in football. Dylan Cole, tanking is lame. Let me know if you're a Titans fan that's wanting to tank. I got 3 crackheads ready to do you dirty. Ooh, that's maybe no threats in the FN, or this is not the FNMX chat, but maybe no threats in the chat. Let's keep it clean here. James Lunford says we will have a high draft pick. Here's the thing about what you're talking about with the quarterback class, though. Kicks Good brought up the quarterback class not looking good until 2026. It doesn't matter how good or how bad a draft class is. This is not an exact science. That's my point with tanking. Like, if you're ready to throw the season away one way or the other and tank or ride out Levis and hope that he loses games. I know some of you, I saw some comments about the Titans needing to lose that game last night, which is garbage. It's trash. I wish those people would, just not participate in sports fandom, because I don't think they're actual sports fans or fans of their actual team. The draft is not an exact science. Look at all the different top draft picks that have washed out of the league. Josh Rosen, Trevor Lawrence is a nightmare right now. Kyler Murray was a number 1 overall draft pick. It took Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield like 4 and 5 different stops. Geno Smith to figure it out. Geno, I know, is a second-round pick, but still, like, top draft picks wash out or fail all the time. And that's largely because organizations are bad. Not because the players are bad, but because organizations are failing, specifically quarterbacks, more than quarterbacks are actually failing organizations, which was a point made last week on the Rich Eisen show by the Vikings coach, Kevin O'Connell, who I thought had excellent perspective on this. So if you are talking draft about all this nonsense, you're relying on something that has a very, very slim percentage chance of changing you in a meaningful way if you tank the season. So I think that that is garbage. And I don't think that those people should, again, participate in sports fandom. Boss Man says everyone is talking about this defense like it's a championship defense, which it isn't. They're getting the first turnover in 4 weeks. Sacks aren't coming plentiful, nor is the pressure off the edge. Yeah, they don't get a lot of pressure. This is not. This defense has some flaws, and it just, it hasn't had a lot of quarterbacks who have been capable of exposing it just yet, which is a credit to Darnell Wilson's defense. And Snead did a great job on Tyreek Hill, but like, who was throwing Tyreek Hill the ball last night, right? That's why that game was as ugly as it was, because there was no downfield passing by either team, working with a third-string quarterback in Miami and a backup quarterback here in Tennessee. So, long story short, it's fair what happens with Will Levis moving forward, that he is the Titans starter at this point if he's healthy. Okay, so what was the biggest surprise from last night's win against the Dolphins? Perhaps it was just the win. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you the primetime program is made possible by the great people at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com. Okay, so biggest surprise from last night's win against the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if it's a surprise because he's been really good all season, but Devondre Sweat turns out certified ass kicker.
And better every week. Really impressive performance by him. Dominant performance. That was a matchup on their interior line versus our interior line that we felt like was to our advantage, even with Jeff out. And really, those guys stepped up around him too. I thought Sebastian Joseph Day probably had his best day, most impactful day he's had. He's been a good, solid player for us, but he made some impact plays. And then Lynch and Anderson both played well as well. I mean, they did a nice job in their roles. So, but Sweat was a force. And when you got a guy like that can get pressure on the quarterback at his size, that can stop the run and make plays laterally along the line of scrimmage, he was really disruptive in that game and showed up in a matchup we felt really good about.
A monster performance last night in, certainly not easy conditions for a big man to play in. It was a real feel at kickoff, 102 on the field in Miami last night. I had to double check my Weather Channel app to make sure that was accurate. But real feel, 102 on the field. I know that the sun went down eventually and that things cooled off, but the humidity is still impossibly thick. Like just walking from the stadium to where the Uber pickup was last night in it's Miami Gardens. It's not on South Beach, but still it's in Miami, right? It felt like I was breathing underwater, and I'm just walking in a suit with a laptop bag. I'm not doing anything like trying to, moving Aaron Brewer may not be as difficult as I'll make it. I mean, for a normal sized human being, of course it is. But like, you understand, Devondre Sweat did his job last night. He did it at a high level. He did it with good conditioning, and he did it with a high snap count. So that's all the things that you wanted to see from Devondre Sweat. That was not a surprise. Probably the surprise was the Burks caught a ball, which is an upset in a lot of different ways. But you know what? To his credit, caught the pass that he needed to catch. Missed a block on a screen pass later on that blew up a play, but he wasn't the only one that missed a block on that screen pass. That was, again, tough going for the passing game in a variety of different facets last night. But good on Devondre Sweat. Bright spot for the Titans defense. We'll see how much better they get. Tafari says, so do you think we trade for any key major pieces before the deadline? No. I mean, like, I don't know that you're going to, no. Acquiring players on this roster? No. This is a team that should legitimately think about selling at the deadline, depending on how the Colts game goes. I think that Halloween is right around the deadline. So what we'll have the week 5 bye, week 6 Colts, week 7 Buffalo, I think is my next road trip. Buffalo in week 7, I want to say, is accurate. So the trade deadline, a few weeks away, right? Less than a month at this point. This team should legitimately think about selling parts because it's not a playoff caliber team right now. And Will Levis is not going to be capable of getting them there, it seems. I don't personally trust him to do so. I think that they should explore trying to acquire draft capital. Karen O'Keefe says, why not replace NPF? Because NPF is not holding the ball too long. Nick was not a part of the problem last night. You know what Brian Callahan said to us today about how good a job the Titans offensive line did in pass protection? He said, yeah, we protect them by running the football because we understand that we have limitations in pass pro. And also, Mason Rudolph gets rid of the ball a hell of a lot quicker. He's a hell of a lot more decisive. Those things matter. And so the sacks on Levis look as much a Levis problem as they do a poor pass blocking Titans offensive line. There's plenty of bad offensive lines in the league. You have to figure out a way to work around it. Mason Rudolph did it better at that point last night. Mike Bell says Arden Key. I don't think anybody's trading for Arden. I think that your best trade assets are Harold Landry, who's coming up on the end of his deal. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously with the Chiefs injury to Rashee Rice, is worth keeping an eye on. But also Devontae Adams is asking out of Vegas today, I saw earlier. So there may not be a good enough market for somebody like Hop if Adams is available. But yeah, it's infinitely more likely that this team would be sellers at the deadline as opposed to buyers. Anyway, so looking at the weekend, it was an interesting weekend. It was an interesting game in particular. Tafari says, "What is wrong with Levis? Personally, give me your idea." He makes bad decisions. I don't think it's that hard to figure out. Like he makes poor decisions, and he's a beat late on some of these, and he predetermines throws like the interception last night, like the interception to Jair Alexander. I think that's a problem. Can we sell away Levis? Yeah, potentially in this offseason, but he's not doing much to help his trade value right now. I mean, Kenny Pickett was playing better football. Now, Desmond Ridder got moved. It's not like Desmond Ridder was any kind of a star. Kenny Pickett got traded. Kenny Pickett is not more than a backup in this league. Who else got traded? Did Sam Howell get traded, or did he get released? I believe he got traded this year. Yes, Bert confirms that. There were a bunch of teams that bailed on Malik Willis got traded, right? So yeah, you can get something for Levis for sure, and you should if this year doesn't work out, because he does have talent, but if he's not skilled enough to put it together, then he's not your solution, and you need to keep finding more help. Chosen says, do you think they keep Levis until 2026 or move on in 2020? It depends. Again, it depends on what they're offered. If it makes sense to keep him as a backup, I think Rudolph is here on a 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. And frankly, I trust Mason Rudolph more as a backup than I do Will Levis. But Levis seems more on the Wentzian path without the potential MVP run that Wentz had prior to tearing his ACL the year that they won the Super Bowl. Anyway, gone viral video. There's a lot of funny things that happened in that game last night, but none funnier than, speaking of Mason Rudolph sliding into this Miami Dolphins fan's girlfriend's DMs.
I mean, this night can't get any worse, man. You got Mason Rudolph in my girlfriend's DMs as I'm watching him absolutely fucking sell my Dolphins money line. Every bet I have. I mean, the guy's a bum. I don't care.
I told you it was good, though.
Dude, he can have you. I would take a Dolphins win tonight than you. I'm not even kidding. This is such a fucking bad game. I want to go home. I want to go
home. Quarterback one, sliding in a girl's DMs in Miami when Mason a couple of weeks ahead of the trip down to Miami, knowing that Mason Rudolph's going to have a little extra time. I respect that so much. A lot of times things on the internet are fake. I don't know if that's actually real. I wasn't going to ask Mason about it last night, but I saw that last night. It made me laugh. That is quarterback one material. Damn, Isaac says she definitely texted him back after the game. Hell yeah, if her boyfriend says I'd rather have a Dolphins win than you, then that's the rule. Yeah, she's absolutely entitled to slide back in those DMs and be like, hell yeah, I'm in Miami, and you just kicked my bum ass boyfriend's team up and down the turf for 60 minutes. So yeah, I'll head home with you instead of this slab who's saying Dolphins money line instead of this beautiful woman that's sitting next to him. Unbelievable. Anyway, it made me laugh. That was this week's Gone Viral video, and that's going to do it for us tonight. That's going to do it for us until next Monday. I'm going to the beach. It's the bye week, so I'm taking vacation. No prime time. I think Sam and them are going to do the morning show in my absence, but they are going to let me take the week off. So no prime time, no 615. We'll do the Co-Sell podcast tomorrow, but that'll be it. No radio for me Wednesday, Thursday, Friday either. And I will be back on Monday to get all these things going for you. And we'll talk about whether or not we think this Titans team is capable of beating Joe Flacco's Colts or maybe Anthony Richardson's Colts. Either way, have a great week. I'll talk to you next Monday here on the Primetime Show and also on 104.5 The Zone. But make sure you subscribe to the install because we'll do another episode tomorrow.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!